Hi, everybody. My name is Carla, and welcome to my webinar, The 5 Keys to a Flourishing Calligraphy Business. I'm super duper excited that you are here and that you've put your hand up saying, Carla, I want to learn a little bit more about what it takes to start a joy producing calligraphy business. So, this training is for you if you're starting out in calligraphy or have been doing calligraphy for a while and thinking maybe I'd like to start a business, but I'm not sure what that entails, and that you're thinking of creating products and services that blend your passion and your strengths and also your market needs. I'm a holistic business type of person. I want to make sure that when people start a business, they're molding things that that what they love to do and what people are going to love as well. And that for me really creates a good flourishing business that is sustainable and that you're going to continue to love to create. So, what are you going to expect from me in the next 45 minutes? So, first, we're going to talk a little bit about myself, just so you guys to know a little bit more about me. And then we're going to talk about the meat of the matter, those 5 keys, those 5 key lessons I've learned the hard way over the past 8+ years running a calligraphy business and sharing that with you. And then information about the Calligraphy Business Kickstarter. So, this is my step by step program to start a calligraphy business from concept to launch. And of course, some special bonuses as well. So you want to stick around for that. So, a little bit about myself. My name is Carla, as I mentioned. I am the owner of Written Word Calligraphy and Design. I'm usually found on Instagram. So, if you haven't yet followed me, you want to pull up your Instagram account and type in at Written Word Calligraphy. We are a wedding invitation design studio slash online course creator. Now we have a calligraphy academy that kind of follows along with the different experience levels of calligraphy. And I also love creating products. So we do also have a shop that has supplies, pens, tools, you name it. We love creating those beautiful things that are useful and also meaningful to our students. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I am a co founder and creative director of a vegan leather fashion accessory brand, Larkin Knives. So if you want to also check that out, it's on Instagram at Larkin Knives. We love creating beautiful things, and that's kind of where I get a lot of my e commerce kind of expertise from, because that's where we've done a lot of work in terms of producing product and selling product and kind of following on the customer journey with it. Um, a lot of people, who have known me through Instagram probably have thought that I've had a creative degree, but actually I did business in school. I studied business in school, and that was like a really fun time for me as well, kind of learning the ins and outs of what it takes to do the logistics and the operations of a business. I'm also so grateful to be published in so many international publications, especially in the realm of my wedding invitations. And we've essentially catapulted in the written word calligraphy brand as an international invitation design company. So I know that a lot of you guys are coming in from all over the world. And I wanted you to know too that when I speak about running a calligraphy business, it's not only a local business, but you can also create something international and expand from there as well. And I am so grateful. And honestly, I don't even know how this has happened, but I'm an author. My book is called Creative Calligraphy Made Easy. We published it in December of 2020. And it's a book that has kind of like the info on how to start in calligraphy, as well as lots of stylish projects like for home and gifts and weddings and things like that, right in a book. And then we also created all these courses here. We have the creative calligraphy course, which is great for beginners, like learning modern calligraphy from the very beginning. Signature style, which is a course about how to develop your own calligraphy style. And then moving into the masterclass courses, the invitation design boot camp, which is all about how to create luxury and high-end wedding invitations from concept to printing. And finally, Calligraphy Business Kickstarter, our newest baby, which has to do with all of those things you need to know in order to create a business, from marketing and operations and client management and all of that fun stuff. So that's it. To let you know a little bit about myself, make sure you hit me up on Instagram at Written Word Calligraphy. If you have any questions at all, feel free to message me on there. I love being able to interact with so many of you on there. So now let's talk a little bit about those keys and kind of like a little intro on that. And first is regarding the biggest struggle. So I did this survey among 500 of my potential students, and the answer to this question is actually really consistent, and it has to do with confidence. Confidence in multiple levels. Confidence is usually like the reason why a lot of people are scared of starting a business, because a lot of it comes with experience, growth, and positive experiences, which most people at the beginning stage of their business don't really have just yet. So, how do you build that when you're just starting out? And, you know, that's why like starting a business can feel so intimidating, because, those questions about like, I don't know where to start, or I just don't have a business background. How am I supposed to do this? Or I don't know, how am I supposed to stand out when there's already seemingly a lot of calligraphers out there? And is my work good enough for them at all? I also don't know like how to gain clients and how to build a sustainable business with my work. Like, how do I consistently get these clients and get them to stay? Or like, how do I make sure that monthly I will be able to get that income that I'm hoping for? And especially when I'm just starting out, how do I price myself? Like, how do I position myself in the market and still be able to price what I'm worth, and also, be able to pay my bills and like somehow make this a happy business, not like stressful? How does this become a flourishing calligraphy business? And of course, I had to name it Flourishing because, with the calligraphy world, we don't just write for it to be beautiful. We want it to like flourish and make it look even more like better, and like people would love it when they see it. And so my goal is that at the end of this workshop, that you'll feel even just 1% more confident about starting a calligraphy business of your own after learning some of these five tips and keys about starting a calligraphy business. All right, are you guys ready to talk about this? These five lessons. I'll also be sharing some of my stories of how, I got started in calligraphy, and like all those lessons I had to learn the hard way. So the first one is has to do with the gearing up on your calligraphy skills. So I actually did a pop quiz on this on Instagram, like asking people like, would you rather first start offering your calligraphy services and kind of learn as you go, or improve your skills first until you feel good enough to launch your calligraphy or lettering brand? And at first it was like pretty split half and half, and then eventually it was number two won, which was to improve your skills until you feel good enough to launch your calligraphy and lettering business. So after I kind of like thought about this, I wanted to kind of provide what my answer would be. And honestly, it's a little bit of both. It's a balance of both, because I do want you to improve your skills and gear up on them, because when you run a calligraphy business, you want to make sure that what you're offering to your clients is also really good, right? But at the same time, I know a lot of people have this confidence issue, not saying that they're just never going to be good enough. So you have to start somewhere, and regardless of how much preparation you do, you're still going to be learning as you go, oftentimes as you run a business. Like, I will try to prepare you as much as I can, but there's still going to be some things that are going to be unique to you, or there's going to be situations that are going to be new to you that you will have to learn on your go. But if, as much as possible, wherever possible, I'd like for you to think about your calligraphy skills when you're pushing it into a business, to really like gear it up and make it better, because calligraphy as a hobby versus calligraphy as a business is different. Because when you're doing it as a hobby, you're primarily doing it for yourself or maybe like a really close friend, whereas as a business, these are people possibly you do not know, and you want to make sure that when you create your work, that it is elevated, and that people would be able to trust that as a professional level calligraphy work, right? As a business owner, I also find that you are also so busy doing everything else more than just calligraphy. So your focus will be split and divided for sure. So before you get into the calligraphy business front, I would say to really work on those skills so that you can build your confidence later on. And that will really help you position yourself as well for pricing. and also help elevate your business and the industry as well. Like, what would it feel like for you to hire somebody who's professionally doing a service, for example, like being a doctor, and knowing that they're actually not licensed to do it, or like they don't have the right training, or they haven't had a lot of experience? And that's why I think, like, for at least an entire year, that you should be building your skills in it. So if you're coming on this call and you've already started your business, that's okay. I still think that it's just good to be able to adjust like a little bit of your time to focus on like really improving your work, and that way when you do share it as a service and you provide it to as a service to your client, that you can come in with a level of expertise because now you have had, experience to back you up. This will also, as I mentioned, help boost your confidence, knowing how to price your work, knowing how to position yourself because you've done the work. You know what it takes to create it. And I'll tell you a little bit about my story here with the wooden welcome sign, because I've had to learn this the hard way as well. Because when I was asked to make my very first wooden sign for a wedding, I hadn't really thought of, like, I hadn't really worked with wood a lot, and I wasn't entirely sure about the right process to go about it. So I was new to staining wood. I also didn't know that there were so many kinds of wood textures. Different kinds of wood had different like color bases. So when you write on them or when you stain a different color wood, like it would come up with a different color. And then of course I didn't know exactly what pen or like brush or paint to use to write on it. These days, there's a lot more content online to show you kind of like the way to do this, or there's many different ways to do it too. At that time, when I was starting out in my business, there wasn't a lot of it. So I remember going to Michael's, which is a local art supply store here, buying all sorts of paint pens and using acrylic paints, and like going to Home Depot and cutting wood in the garage and buying finishing sprays. And as I was writing it, I learned also so much stuff. Like the color wasn't opaque enough. I had to do multiple coats. Like there was like drying time in between. There was just so much to learn about one welcome sign, and there was just not, it wasn't just about like writing the welcome sign itself. There's also like the discussion with the client, and also the shipping and packaging aspect to it too. And in fact, these days I actually rarely do these signs already because I have like I have a lot of international clients, and shipping wood is very heavy and big. So I actually have a lot of other options to it now. Um, but it gives you a good sense of like, okay, maybe like I need to know a little bit more about like how long it takes to create something like this, or like what are like the shipping and packaging materials I need in order to be able to ship this properly. Essentially, you don't want your client job to be the first time you do something. That way you can speak with it with expertise, like how long it would take for you to do it, and price correctly because you've done it before. You know the difficulty level of what tools to use, or you would be able to provide other options that would be easier or even look nicer for your client. And like I mentioned, I haven't been doing a lot of wooden signs because of my international clients, but we've done a lot of paper, vinyl, linen, signs, way more than the wooden signs. This one was a wooden sign, but it's actually vinyl. I didn't go to Bali to make this particular wedding sign. Um, and that way you can kind of give them an option that works, and they could, bring it easier to them when they go on their destination wedding. And actually, in our course, in the Calligraphy Business Starter course, we talk all about like how to expand your skill set, and the resource guides on how to get things done, the suppliers and the materials that I personally use, as well as the best practices in terms of like how to communicate with clients to reduce the amount of talking around like creating a simple sign, the welcome sign, and also a private community so you can ask questions about like, hey guys, have you guys tried writing on this, or like have you how did you guys price this item, or like how did you guys find working on this particular material and how to do certain things. That's like the cool part of doing it as a group with other people, because you're not alone in your journey in creating a business. So key number two has to do with crafting a target market for your business. So you've probably heard the word target market before, but what is it really? It's your dream client circle. So when I did my survey about like the biggest struggle people have found about starting a business, the number two struggle really has to do with marketing, like how to reach your dream clients, how to book them, and how to keep like how to keep booking them, you know? But before you even book those clients, I think like what you really need to look at and establish is your business model, like what you're going to be offering to people. And I want to share with you guys a little secret. The ideal business model actually isn't just about what you're good at, or it's not about like what you love to do or like what the target market needs. It's a blend of all of that. And I had to learn this the hard way because when I was starting my calligraphy business, or even any other business I've ever run, I've always done what I like doing or what I thought looked nice or what seems to be trending in the market. But what I found that a blend of everything would make a better, more sustainable business model for you. And that's why it's such an individual thing. It what has worked for somebody might not work necessarily for you. I totally understand the comparison game, and I personally have struggled with that myself. Because sometimes you see like this other person, launching this product, and it seems like it's viral, it's gone viral, or like it's hip and trendy and that everybody seems to love it. But most of us actually are not in that like Zoom phase in terms of like starting a business. Most of us are in the slow and steady and strong phase, and it's good to be like that. It's good to have that stability in there too. So while it's great if you could come up with those viral ideas, but they might not actually stay or be able to be sustainable in that process as well. So in the course, I do talk a lot more about like how to discover your strengths, different calligraphy business opportunities and models as well that have worked for me or have not worked for me, or like some of those pros and cons about it as well. And also how to discover your target market and understand them so that you can find trends or like these opportunities that will actually convert to sales. Because I think like sometimes our knowledge is really limited to what we know here, but it's when you start really speaking to your target market, you'll know and discover so much more about what they really are about, and what their market needs are like what they're actually looking for. And I've had to learn that a hard way because I like to, this is kind of like my way of thinking, and this is how customers really think, and finding a blend of that, being there for them in that happy medium is where you'd want to be. I want to tell you guys a little bit of a story about the monogram wax seals because this is one of those products where I've had to learn the hard way in terms of like business ideas. There's a lot of stories, but this is an important one. So this is one of my first product lines, wax seals. And this particular one is a monogram wax seal. So it has a letter with a crest, or an olive branch crest around it. So very popular, especially, 6 years ago. I thought it would be a great idea. Because I already create custom ones for my clients. Everybody seems to be loving wax seals even till this day. People seem to respond to it on Instagram a lot. Like, for example, whenever I have videos of wax seals, people seem to love them. But what I didn't realize was that, first of all, the market is actually very niche. The people who actually want to do the wax seals themselves is very small, and not a lot of people actually know what am I going to use it for. They just like watching the video. So I found that the viewership didn't really translate to sales. I also don't produce these wax seals myself, so I get them made because I'm also an invitation designer as well as a business owner in different companies. So there's no way I could also produce at the same time manage the rest of my business. So because of that, in order to get a price that is low enough for me to resell the item, I needed to optimize my production flow. But because I have to get them in bulk, that means that like I will have inventory, and when you have inventory, it's hard to manage, especially when you have letters from A to Z. You have to make sure you have just enough for everyone. And also because I wanted to sell these in stores, I had this dream like seeing them in the store with all of the letters, but I discovered very quickly that people, in a wholesale company, they actually have minimum orders and that they need more variety in my line. I can't just be offering wax seals. I'll need to have more than that. And then there's also like the packaging and shipping option. Like this thing was covered, like this lid here went over this portion. So in retail, it actually didn't work very great because people couldn't see what the design was in here. And so I didn't really think about that when I was designing. I was just like, it looks great. I love it. not sell it. But don't get me wrong, like they are still part of my shop to this day, and they've been great, and they've definitely sold, and I've made my money back. But there's definitely frustrations about this product that I wish I thought about before I jumped on to begin with. And but that's why sometimes it's good to be able to vet things out with other people. Like, am I doing this right? Like, have you guys tried this? Like, has this worked for you? And maybe some people's opinions or like advice might work for you specifically because either you live in the same area or they've done it before. We will be having these kinds of sessions in the Calligraphy Business Kickstarter program. They're going to be called the Fireside Chats, which is I thought a really cool term, where we kind of sit around and chat with like-minded people and get to really kind of grow from each other's like strengths and weaknesses and be able to pick people's brains and grow from that. So the third key is to market to the right crowd. So you guys, a lot of you had been saying like, oh, Carla, I really don't know how to reach my target market, or like, I don't know how to book clients. I don't know how to get the clients to find me. But I realize it's because marketing can seem really intimidating to a lot of people. Like it feels like it's pushy or that you're selling a lot that or that you have to visibly be on Instagram to be able to sell properly. No, it's not. Like marketing is actually just visibility to your target market. Because like you want to be present when they look for you, essentially. And also, I find that a lot of seemingly strong marketing strategies might not work for everybody. It depends on your business model. It depends on your personality as well. You want to be authentic as much as possible in there, and also, like there's. I think like a lot of people like spread themselves too thin in that marketing aspect, especially with regard to social media. It seems like you have to put too much effort and then not really get the response that you need. So marketing is crucial because if you want to get your clients, you do need to have like ways for people to be able to reach you, like how to get your dream customers and get them to constantly refer other people to you or like keep growing that sustainable business model. But in order to be able to get there, you need to be visible to your market by showing up in the right crowd. So I was talking about this with some of my peers in the industry, some of the vendors, because some of them their approach to marketing is super duper light. Like you guys see me a lot on Instagram, but some businesses don't do that a lot. Like some operate primarily by referrals only, or like they don't even have to market at all, and like work just seems to come to them. And that's also possible, but that depends on your business model and your market needs. I talk about it a lot in the course, like what are those like really strong pieces that you must have as a calligraphy business in particular, just because of how our industry works and how our particular audience works as well. And what I found too, a little secret for you, is that you actually don't need a huge following to book clients or to sell your products. I know a lot of you guys are like, Carla, like you've got over 100,000 people like following you on Instagram. You're probably getting all those clients and selling all that. No, it actually doesn't necessarily mean having all of these followers that people are actually even seeing my stuff. I wish they all did, but that's not necessarily true. But you do need your content to be seen by the right people. And how do you reach those right people? Is to find where those people are. So that's like one of those like light bulb moments for me. And I was like doing a lot of these online courses because I realized that, yeah, like I feel like I've been talking a lot like this on Instagram, especially, or even on TikTok, where I'm like talking, and like nothing is happening. Just the other day, I was like feeling frustrated and was talking about it on Instagram. And I asked if some of you have felt frustrated with sharing, or starting your business accounts, and just like crickets. But and it was because before Instagram was my bread and butter. It has changed so much over time. But before, like the people I wanted to reach was able to find me on it. But I talk about it a lot more in the course. Like what are those other marketing methods that you can have that are passive? Like you can like set them up and like let them sit, and what are those other ones that are actually useful that if you can, what you need to do to them to kind of get them relevant, and also how to make most of your time if you do want to spend time on content marketing like me, like how to maximize your efforts in that. So one of the best ways to market, as I mentioned, is to find them in the communities where they already exist. For example, if you're thinking of focusing on moms, probably not the only idea to put on Instagram. Yes, it's possible too. Like you could maybe find some influencers to talk about your brand, but it's probably better to be on some Facebook groups that allow you to promote and that let somebody know about what you're offering, and maybe you'd be able to offer it there, because that's kind of where they're more active rather than on social media, because sometimes they're just browsing and they're not actually like buying. So it's like understanding what your market does and what your where your target market actually shops, or looks for people, will be the key point in for you to drive those right clients and herd them together, into your little circle, and that way you can communicate to them whenever you're launching something or that you're offering a new service. So, as I mentioned in the course, we will be talking a lot more about those marketing methods, including the ones that have been super useful to me in the calligraphy industry as well. So in key number four is talking about pricing what you're worth. Like I know that seems like really, really vague, and but I wanted to tell you guys a little bit more about what that actually means. I often get pricing questions from people, and I'm sure that I'm not even getting all of them because not everybody's like willing to step up and courageously ask me about pricing. It does seem like a sensitive topic to have, and some people are like really secretive about pricing. And to a certain extent, I actually understand where they're coming from, because pricing is such a personal journey. What works for you might not work for other people. So, for example, I do really think that when you're starting out when you are running a calligraphy business, I do believe in like beefing up your calligraphy skills in the beginning. So that way, when you start offering them, you're no longer an absolute beginner. And that way, you don't necessarily have to charge low. Because I also find that whenever you charge low to clients, or like you're like the lowest in the spectrum, people might be weirded out and saying like, what's wrong with this person? Like, is their skill set just not strong enough? Um, Unless of course they're the type of people that are really just very, very price conscious. And but then they're probably not the person that you want to hire. You want somebody that trusts you for your skill level, that would pay you no matter what it is, because they trust that you're able to do it. And that's why charging too low is not good, because it also, creates a cycle of discounting. Once you've discounted, people will expect that discount. It lowers your value and lowers the value of calligraphy in general in the market. Whereas I want you to think of calligraphy more of as an artisan skill. It is a luxury service. It's not something that anybody can just do. And I also find that once you kind of set yourself up as this cheaper person in the group, it's harder to raise prices, because explaining that to people is hard, especially with products. Like once you have your product a certain price, like people are used to buying it. Like for you to increase prices, sometimes people will get that sticker shock because they're not used to that. In fact, it's almost better to start a completely different business and start your pricing in a different way. So I think that pricing is a very personal journey. While I do recommend researching the industry standards, so on Calligraphile, Happy Ever Crafter also has a really good course on pricing. Um, I think it's good to kind of get a general sense of what the industry standards is like, and like take that with a grain of salt. But then consider what your time is actually worth for you, the difficulty level, how much time it takes to do it, and like kind of bring that all together with your pricing. Like in the course, I talk like actual like formulas and how I come up with pricing, because I want to consider all of those different elements that come with the actual service or product that I do, because like it is different. Like for example, watercolor painting for me takes way more time than say somebody who is a watercolor artist, but maybe for them doing calligraphy is a lot more work. So in that sense, I actually charge more for my watercolor time because it takes me a long time to do it, for one, and then it also requires a lot more like mind energy to do it. And because it is something that's harder to edit and there's a lot more work involved in it, that's why I charge it way higher in comparison to just a normal line sketch. But whatever you choose to price yourself with, I want to say to kind of like learn to accept the fact that not everybody is your target market, and that you don't need to lower your price when they ask you to, because discounting breeds entitlement, and it tends to create the worst clients ever. Like this is from my experience. It's honestly better to have fewer higher paying clients that believe in your work, that's way more satisfying and joy producing than having all these lower paying clients that complain about every single thing. And in fact, you'll probably find doing more work for them than these higher paying clients who trust you for what you do. So let me tell you about a story as well about this mirror seating chart because, well, first of all, it was a super fun one. It was Game of Thrones themed, hence it was called the Table of Thrones, but it was a local wedding. So local wedding is not like a bad thing, but it's definitely a little bit more like work for myself because I find that local weddings for me means that they have people just tend to have more last minute changes, and because I have like the materials I have to actually get them and stuff, and with the rentals, for example, for this mirror seating chart I had to pick up the mirror or like somebody has to drop it off, so there's a lot of logistics involved versus like writing on a piece of paper and sending it, right? So I personally have to do all of this plus like the negotiation, the logistics, and then of course like get it to the client on time for the wedding. I remember sending them the initial quote and they were shocked how much it would cost them because I was saying something like $7 a name, but because I was also explaining that this is time that I account for the time I have to pick up and talk to people, all the admin stuff, the logistics, the pickup, the delivery, the packing, the mistakes, the changes, double checking your work. Like, people need to know that it's not just like writing a name, there's skill involved in it, there's logistics involved in it, there's material costs, there's label costs, and there's also stress involved, like especially these days as a mom. Like my time is so precious, I have to consider that as I create like quotes like this. I have to, this is what the time is worth to me now, right? So explaining that to them, or to at least a partial level, for them to understand like the breadth of doing it, because once at a time these people don't normally have the skills for it too. So don't worry about that. You will get there. And then, of course, lastly, to grow with the changes, because I find that these days, especially in the past decade of me doing this as a business, is that there's always going to be things that happen in our lives, and especially because like for example, just recently we've had this COVID situation really affect our business. We have to pivot. We have to do things to a little bit differently to make it work. Or like we are mostly calligraphers are women, or and even if you were men, like there's still like seasons in our life that change how we approach our business, like having children, for example, and that, or like moving houses, or like sickness, and things like that. So we need to be able to be okay with those changes and learn to grow with them. So it's absolutely good to regularly pause, review, debrief, and really see what you're doing to see if it's still effective in the market, because your target markets may change when you change your business model, when you change like what you're offering. When you are looking at a certain particular piece, like international versus like local, like all those different approaches might change. Like I said, like the life changes. There might be opportunities for you to invest in education or consulting because you're just not knowledgeable enough for that certain part. So for example, like licensing is something that is not as it like I don't deal with it very often, but for example, like Jenna Rainey, Molly Jacks, like both like have courses specifically on those that talk about licensing. And like if that was like an opportunity that was presented to you, or like you're thinking of becoming a commercial photographer, a commercial calligrapher, that's kind of like the realm of going about that. Or sometimes you might need to grow a team, and like being able to like train people and like document all of your work and all that kind of fun stuff, right? So you'll need to be able to be flexible to those changes. Unfortunately, I think gone are those days that the business kind of like is the same for like year after year and after year. But no, like things change, like social media changes and things change, and motherhood changed me a lot. Like I became a mom in 2018, and I I had like postpartum anxiety and baby blues like right after my son was born. I know he's adorable, but he also like just changed my perspective in life and in business so much. And I'm an Enneagram 3, and I just love being in control, but being a parent is knowing that you have literally no control. And I love being able to focus on my work, but unfortunately being a mom means like you're being interrupted all the time. Nervous laughter. But I did learn so much about like, okay, now that I'm a mom and also like juggling another business and doing calligraphy, I don't have to and shouldn't be working every waking hour. Like I need like some time to myself as well. And that there's better ways to do business and that I should like, streamline certain things that you can work better and smarter and that way I don't have to essentially slave myself to this job, even though I'm doing what I love. It's inevitable to get burnout if you're just like giving too much, right? So those are my 5 keys to a flourishing calligraphy business. Those are like my 5 key lessons I've really learned and kind of honed in over time, like gearing up on your skills so that it really builds your confidence so that you know what to charge and where to position yourself in the market, how to craft a target market for your business so that you have a business model that is sustainable, that blends what you like to do, what the market is looking for, as well as like your actual skill set, right? And of course, like marketing to the right crowd, because, I know it seems like there's a lot of calligraphers out there and the people like, and marketing just seems really pushy to me. But no, like really, you don't need to be talking, 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 talking. There's many multiple ways to market. And also, most of the time, you just need to start being visible to your target market. For the most part, most of the people in your target market only really know a handful of calligraphers. They don't know that there's so many out there or they are not able to find them. But if you are the one that shows up to them, most likely it'll be easier for them to trust you because you're the one that they see. And of course, key number 4, like learning that pricing is a personal journey and that while you are thinking of it from like, okay, in this industry level, like kind of where to position yourself, but to consider actually like internally how much your time is worth and how hard it is to actually do this and use that as your base to do your pricing. That will really help you also kind of build your confidence of what you are worth. And of course, to grow with the changes because there's really so much change that happens in a business and like being able to kind of understand that that's part of it and that it's okay to have some of these mistakes sometimes it's only going to help you boost your confidence in moving forward. So let me tell you guys all about the Calligraphy Business Kickstarter because I personally know how hard it is to start a business. Like having a calligraphy business is so unique. Like there's many kinds of businesses out there where, you buy and sell products, for example, or you're just selling something. Um, but this one is different because it also involves your artistic skill, not just your business knowledge. In other words, you're also part of the manufacturing process. It's very personal in some ways. That's why sometimes when clients are like a little bit upset, you're just like, I can't help but to feel a little bit like, ouch, because it's like your work, it reflects you, right? Like you are part of that brand. And that's why, if we go back to those questions earlier, like, the why it's so intimidating is because not only do you have to think about all of those different aspects about your skill sets, there's also like the business side of things, like marketing it and being able to keep it sustainable, and then the pricing and logistics and the operations. That's why I created a Calligraphy Business Kickstarter. I'm trying to help you boost your confidence in starting a business by equipping you with all the tools you need to get started. It's a 6-week business course to help you start your business from the concept to launch, and of course, like keep that sustainable. It's taught by a calligrapher for calligraphers, whether you're doing a product, a service, an online shop, or a blend of all of these? Like, do you want to do a very passive one or a highly active business? Is it going to be a side hustle, full-time business or not? We covered that in the course. So that's like what's so cool about this business course. Like, I've been to business school, so I know what it's like, but this course kind of brings in all of that info, for what it takes to start a really good foundation for a business, but it's in the calligraphy setting because it's coming from me who has had experience running a business for a while. I personally think like you don't need to have a full-time business right away. You can start as a side hustle. You can even start a micro calligraphy business if that's kind of what fits best for your time. You don't have to be in the wedding industry to if that's not your passion. And you actually don't even have to think about just like your local market. Like so many people have approached me about, hey Carla, I don't know whether or not my business is going to be relevant because my local market isn't great for calligraphy. It seems like they don't realize the benefit of it, or they just don't know, or they don't seem to want to pay for it. That's okay because they might not be your target market now, but they could be in the future once they start seeing the work that you produce, or as well as like you as you gain international experience that could also bolster your credibility locally. And of course, I also think that as you start out as a business, it doesn't necessarily mean you only have to start small or that you have to work for free. I absolutely think that you need to be paid for what you're worth because you are doing an artisan service, that people will need to appreciate because it's really not something anybody can just do. So here is how I've mapped out the calligraphy business course. The module one, week one, talks a lot about like finding your niche, like what is a good sustainable business model depending on your skill set, and of course your personal goals and interests, and of course your target market too. So we do a lot of like research on competition and like trend research, and I'll share with you guys kind of how that works. And of course, like actually working on the brand aspect, like the visibility part, like setting that up so that you have a good website, good branding that is consistent across all of your avenues so that when people come to you, it looks professional, and that they know what you're about and that your services, like your portfolio, reflects that. Like what goes in your portfolio is so important as well. And then, of course, the nitty gritty part. So, this is actually one of those things that people have approached me and said, Carla, I really need you to talk about this because I have zero business experience. I don't know what it's like. What do I have to do from registering my business? Or, like, where do I get suppliers? Or, how do I get wholesalers to reach to find? Or, like, how do I set up my studio? Like, what do I need for starting inventory? Like, if I want to hire someone, where do I go? Like, what kind of contracts do I need to write or like that kind of stuff? And then what does my day actually look like a time management piece as well. And then we go into marketing, which is a very important part of the business as well. Like we need to be able to find these clients to help also bolster our confidence moving forward because without paying clients, we can't really move forward so much, right? um, so finding ways to create those engaging content for effective marketing strategies so that your target market would be able to find you easily, be able to also just find ways to market so that you don't have to do so much with it because it doesn't necessarily mean that when you're marketing that you're like having to show up like this and like on video or on Instagram stories all the time. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that. But you need to make sure that all of your like visibility avenues are set up and what to do in those particular aspects. That's what we talk about in this particular module. And then, of course, we talk about pricing. I know it's like the elephant in the room, like those specific formulas and like how to price yourself effectively, how to position yourself in the market, and like how to deal with that pushback when you do get that. And of course, what actually happens once you book the clients, like that, I feel like is one of those pieces that is so crucial, but it's just that until you've had the experience, you wouldn't know what it's like. So you get to learn my exact processes for dealing with the various products and services so that you can create a smooth working relationship with your clients and avoid that those like issues with like people like not getting back to you or like them being frustrated and really create like a sustainable business that knowing like what happens from beginning to end. And what's included in this course too is lifetime access to these recorded videos. So it's a lot of me talking and also a lot of like worksheets and documents and resource guides that you can, follow along as you watch the videos. You also get access to a private community where you learn alongside fellow calligraphy business owners that are just starting out, just like you are. And of course, I was telling you guys those live group sessions, we're going to have them every 4 to 6 weeks. So those are fireside chats. So we get to hang out and just talk about calligraphy business and get to kind of vet those ideas out. So that's what's included in the Calligraphy Business Kickstarter. So the investment for this particular course is $997. So this is a business course, you guys. So I wanted you to think about it in that perspective. And this is an investment towards your future. You are like reducing like your heartache, because instead of having to figure it all out on your own in the calligraphy industry, you're learning from somebody who's been in it for a while, and you do get lifetime access to these videos and updates and worksheets, as well as to these fireside chats. But because you guys have, put your hand up saying you're interested in starting a calligraphy business, we have a special offer for you. Because you've attended this webinar, you get $150 off. This is your scholarship. My way of saying thank you for wanting to elevate your presence in the calligraphy business industry, as well as 3 bonuses. So these are only available if you sign up within this next 3 days. And what are these bonuses about? First one is an Am I Doing This Right audit. It's a 5-minute video audit of your page of choice, whether it's a page on your website, Instagram, or possibly like your online shop or Etsy, so that I could give you some of my feedback and critique to help you make this particular piece better. You also get access to a flat lay photography and styling session. This is a 45-minute session sharing some of my favorite tips and tricks on photography. And of course, a actual physical welcome packet, a curated set of goodies just for our students. So this one includes like a notebook, a coaster, pen. That way you can kind of learn alongside and get a little bit of something from us as you start your calligraphy business journey. So if you are interested in signing up for us, you just need to click on the links below for this particular offer. You will also be receiving an email with this replay just in case you are wanting to rewatch what we're learning about today. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. It's help@writtenwordacademy.com. And like I said, these bonuses and this $150 off scholarship is only available during this limited time. After that, the price will go back to $997 without the bonuses as well. So if you're thinking of signing up and you want those bonuses, make sure you sign up with those bonuses for sure. All right, you guys, I hope this was helpful for you in the realm of calligraphy. And I am hoping to see and be part of your calligraphy business journey. Again, this is Carla from Written Word Calligraphy, and I hope to see you guys in another video sometime. Hit me up on Instagram at Written Word Calligraphy, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.